Imagine the following scenario. On a strange world, 4 troops, pursued by massive dagger-clawed bugs, desperately run for their dropship. The landing pad is crawling with creatures, green ooze explodes, and machine gun fire rattles as the 4 people rush through the boarding hatch and their ride takes off in the nick of time.
Not today!
This might pass for a Hollywood action scene, but in Helldivers 2 it's simply the final stage of the mission. It's amazing, in fact, how frequently Helldivers 2 missions finish in terrifying, hair-raising heroics. And since there is never the certainty of a happy ending, it continually becomes captivating. Sometimes you get crushed by bugs meters before pulling off your daring escape. Despite the group being completely overwhelmed, one of you manages to survive and return home. On the other hand, perhaps nobody succeeds at all. Thankfully, you are still rewarded for reaching goals for Super Earth. Not just mission endings leave an impression. Each part of this frenetic 4-player squad shooter combines to create situations that look like they were straight out of a movie. Indeed, to a certain extent, they were. With inspiration from Starship Troopers, Aliens and the Terminator series thrown in for good measure, Helldivers 2 is an epic mashup of sci-fi action movie clichés. Every bit of its code strives to imitate the random mayhem that evokes the terror, bluster and dark humor of their iconic scenes. It makes sense to incorporate the Starship Troopers scenario into the game's tone. Helldivers 2 mimics Paul Verhoeven's 1997 satire at every turn, just like its predecessor did, with its residents of Super Earth fighting for freedom and democracy and sacrificing their lives to the never-ending struggle. Although the writing in this instance is merely a faint representation of its source, it gives the action a magnificent ridiculousness that frequently leads to wild gambits and laughter. It stems from the notion that, despite the misinformation, you are a helpless nobody sent into enemy territory to give your life in the service of nebulous goals, rather than some Master Chief super soldier. Every attack you take will result in you being crushed, burned, impaled, and most likely blown up by comrades who are just as weak as you. A well-deserved win is surviving, and every death is a tragically humorous byproduct of what happened. Additionally, a few seconds after your death, a teammate summons more troops, and before you know it, you're hurtling back into the fight from orbit in a capsule that mimics a bullet. I just hope they made sure not to call you when there are robots or a pack of deadly insects around. In fact, one of Helldivers 2's most consistently clever ideas is that help always comes from above, fired by your own spacecraft that hovers over your location like a satellite. This sequel can be seen as a remake of the first game in many ways, but it also adds live service progression and changes perspective from top-down to over-the-shoulder. The latter change is particularly important because it gives you a stronger sense of control over the skies and enhances close-quarters combat. Along with the heavy thud that can destroy beautiful landscape or bugs, reinforcements also come in the form of what the game refers to as stratagems, which are heavy weaponry, deadly airstrikes, and orbital laser fire. Before landing, each fighter chooses 4 stratagems, all of which are timed by cooldowns. Using these effectively can make the difference between becoming a cackling exterminator who poses a threat to robots and insects, or just some random dude with an assault rifle and a few explosives. Although they are the most reliable ways to slaughter your allies, air and orbital strikes are a fast way to destroy large areas of enemies. That's right, air and orbital strikes are the most reliable ways to wipe out large groups of enemies while also killing off your allies. A hilariously clumsy way to deliver a precise blow is to call for it using a metal ball that serves as the barrage's target point. A red beam then rises into the sky, giving you a few seconds to evacuate the area before a loud explosion. It might therefore be your lucky break or a sign that you are about to die. The same holds true for mines, automatic turrets, and powerful handheld weapons. They are absolutely necessary for your survival, but their deployment could backfire and drain your supply of reinforcements more quickly than the opponent could have thought. Additionally, because fights in Helldivers 2 develop ridiculously quickly, mistakes can still occur even with a well-organized squad. The next moment, you're ducking behind a boulder to evade a charging beetle with its bodies burrowing up on all sides. Someone punches an airstrike command and launches the targeting device without first confirming where anyone is. Someone goes down in a blaze of suicidal glory, and someone saves an ally from impending death. When facing off against enemies which close in like xenomorphs, you must react differently to each kind of enemy, whether it is by running, standing your ground, diving to the ground, throwing grenades, or drawing a shotgun in close quarters. It becomes clear that each of the 9 difficulty levels in the game has unique weak points for the larger, more deadly creatures and robots that appear around level 4 or 5. Meanwhile, even at early levels, mission design is complex and multifaceted. Objectives span multiple stages, sending you between traversing the sizable maps to holding positions while manually moving machinery, waiting for processes to finish, or hitting inputs into terminals. These tasks range from demolishing bug nests or robot factories to obtaining soil samples or preparing the launch of an ICBM. Additionally, missions offer a variety of sub-objectives that entice you with experience points and economic awards. However, the longer you stay on the planet, the more enemy forces there are. Your efforts may be delicately balanced by such choices. The audio and graphics are also excellent. While bugs are consistently repulsive and robots are just as terrifying as the Terminator, each planet has its own unique personality, complete with color, natural cover, hazards, and environmental factors. The sound design is what really makes the game shine. With flawless shooting, clacking reloads, explosions, your team's well-timed eat this. And for democracy, yelling, and a score that blends jingoistic and emotional elements in equal measure. The game's service structure doesn't feel overwhelming at this point, as the only things that can be purchased with money are more armor, helmets, some OK guns, and capes. It seems that the ultimate goal of the game is for every participant to work together to free a spiral of planets surrounding Super Earth, a number of which are available at a time. Arguably, the cleverest bit of satire in the game. The completion target on that planet increases by a 10,000% each time you complete a mission, letting you know how much your blood, sweat, and tears are really meaningless on their own. Yet a feeling of grind did start to set in around 40 hours of gameplay. You go to greater difficulty levels, which are challenging to handle without well-equipped and organized teams, as a result of the amounts of experience points and in-game money needed to level up and obtain stronger stratagems, weapons, and armor. You need better equipment to take on your task, but getting that equipment is difficult until you do. Though undoubtedly, technical difficulties have made Helldivers 2's advancement feel slower than it should have been until now. It is frustrating not to receive the points you have earned when you return home, or to lose your connection while you rush to the dropship after a 30-minute mission. That latter glitch appears to have been fixed in the previous few days, and Arrowhead is obviously paying attention. While there are many games accessible, the worst problem as of this is getting into a quick match, which can require minutes of attempting and failing repeatedly. By overloading the servers, it appears that the huge number of players of Helldivers 2 is the cause of the issue. That becomes less of an issue, of course, as Arrowhead updates the game if you have a group of people who are willing to dive in with you. Those first 40 hours have been overall amazing despite a few bumps with servers and bugs. I'll definitely keep playing into the future with my Steam hours logged into this game being over 135.